Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez, and I get to host you here on the podcast each week. And before we dive into today's unique topic, where I'm going to introduce you to some of my coaching clients and let you learn about their businesses and highlight what they are doing, real quick, I'll introduce myself just in case we're new friends. As I said, my name is Denise, and I have the pleasure of being an equine business coach, which means that through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream chasing entrepreneurs in the horse world to build and grow a sustainable business without burning out. And yes, oftentimes that is through marketing strategy and systems, and that we go beyond that to mindset and other pieces that are a crucial part of helping you to grow sustainably. All that I do, including this podcast, is so that you, as an equine entrepreneur, can be out in the barn or the arena, behind the camera lens, in the pasture, at the computer, wherever it is you're serving the equine industry. My heart is to help you do more of that. And so today I'm doing that by way of inviting you to go behind the scenes with me. It's a unique thing. I've only done one other time here on the podcast, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to meet some of my clients and to showcase and highlight the wonderful work that they are doing, and also to let you hear their stories, because I know that as entrepreneurs, you will be able to connect with them and to learn from them. Now, today I'm going to introduce you to Amy Williams and Audrey Paslow. And their businesses are definitely different. When I say different, I mean each of them are different. I don't mean like they're wild businesses, but they each have a different type of business. But they also have a lot in common that I think will be similar to you. They've already done a lot of work on their own. They are each at different stages and seasons of business. But really, what was the same for them is that they've already crafted their expertise. They already know what they're great at. And Amy, especially, had been doing this for a long time before she and I started to work together, as you will hear. But of course, similarly, are the struggles, right? The ability to communicate clearly what it is that they do. And again, and I will say, and you'll hear this with Amy, that because she had done that a while, she absolutely had done that. So I'm going to give her that credit she may not give herself. But she had, as many of you do, continued to shift and grow and evolve in her business, and wanted to make sure that messaging was communicated clearly as she was evolving to the next phase and doing some online education and courses and things like that, which you will hear about. They were not looking for random marketing tips and strategies and tactics. Now, they both were podcast listeners, so they absolutely are learners at heart. And they were ready to go beyond that DIY piece of marketing and really work with somebody that could help them focus on the next right step with a roadmap and a plan. And you will hear them share that experience today. But again, you're also going to hear them share their heart and how they serve the industry in unique ways. Okay. So I'm really excited to introduce you to them, for you to hear about the challenges they were facing, the breakthroughs they experienced through our time together. And actually, I'm so blessed because I continue to get to work with them. So just so you know, if you have thought about one-on-one coaching or Take the Reins, and you've heard me say it's a 6-month program, it does continue past 6 months if it's still a great fit and you need that support. Okay. All right, friends, if you have ever felt like you are wearing all the hats and your marketing is less strategy and more, what am I going to do today? And you wanted some help to figure out if you're focusing on the right things so you can actually grow, this episode is going to help you, because I think you're going to see yourself in these conversations with these ladies. And I hope that, like myself, like I have been inspired working with them, that you also are inspired to keep doing what it is that you love so much in the way that you're serving the equine industry. Okay, let's jump in. First, I'm going to introduce you to Amy Williams. Okay, Amy, thank you so much for joining me here. I cannot wait for my audience to meet you and get to know you.
Oh, thank you so much, Denise. It's truly my honor and my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So before we start talking about coaching and the experience of that, first, I want everyone to get to know you and what you do. And so, would you tell us a bit about yourself, who you serve, and how you do it in your business?
Absolutely. So, my business is Peak Performance and Wellness Solutions. So, I provide a Christ centered approach to holistic equine care. And I do that by offering in person bodywork sessions. And I also teach workshops about the modality that I created called the Listen approach. And Listen stands for leading by intuitive stillness to equus neutral. And it is a combination of equine craniosacral, osteopathy, myofascial release, and structural integration. And I teach those workshops in person, but also just recently have added an online component to it.
So good. I love that. And can we just applaud how well you described that, which is part of the work that we've done. So I just love getting to see you just lean into that. And you did so much of that before, but I can hear some of those threads that we'll talk about coming through. And even before we got on the call, I was talking about just that piece of holistic wellness that you're able to bring to the table and how you serve people in that. I'm really love that, and I'm so excited for people to get to hear about what you're doing, connect with you. So I'd love to know because what you do is multifaceted, as you just shared, and as many of my listeners will be in the same environment, same situation. But for you personally, what really lights you up most about the work that you get to do?
Oh, I would say helping a horse that has been kind of pigeonholed into having a mystery lameness or having something that the owner or the trainer or the wellness team just really couldn't resolve. And being part of that journey to provide healing to the horse and part of that wellness team is just so fulfilling. And that's really the reason for my why is because I've walked through that personally too. And I can just really relate to it from an owner perspective, but also from an equine professional wellness team perspective.
Yeah, 100%. And two, what I want to pull out is your heart is truly team approach, right? You're like this,
Absolutely.
so oftentimes people will get into this is the only one way to do it. And you're like, it takes a team, it takes a village
It
to do this
truly
well.
takes a village because horses are hard and complicated, and it truly takes a village.
Yeah. And so you touched on this briefly, but I would love for people to hear the history, a little bit of the history behind your business. So, what did make you start this business in the first place?
Oh, it's kind of a long story, but I'm gonna summarize it for you. So, I really was not doing what God intended me to do.
Mm,
So, I have a degree in civil engineering, and I worked in the private sector as a consultant for almost 15 years doing that. And I started to job hop, and at the my last job I hopped to, just a few months in, I realized I wasn't fulfilled, and I really had to pause and say, "Okay, God, what do you want me to do with my life? How do you wanna use me?" And what was revealed to me was I was meant to use my analytical left side of my brain that he gifted me, right? But also the passion for horses that he instilled in me and the passion for holistic healing. So that was really what birthed my business and took me on a whole nother journey that's just been incredible.
yeah. And so remind me, because some of that's fun for me to hear, because I don't think I've heard the full realization in that way. How did that overlap with what happened with your personal horse? Like, where was kind of that timeline?
So it was all kind of right there together. I would say the peak of the dysfunctions that I was experiencing with one of my personal horses happened all during that time.
Okay.
So I know it was completely God's timing, as it always is, but I was already in a mindset of there's got to be more, there's got to
Okay.
be other options out there for my horse. And so that was another motivator for really pushing me through getting my education and taking that step to completely pivot my career path.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Talk about a pivot. And so then remind me, like in that piece. So your horse was not doing well. You started taking the education and learning so that you could help your horse. And did you have like the mindset of like, okay, God, I know you're shifting me in this direction for my career as you were learning these things for your horse?
Yes,
Okay. Beautiful. I didn't
absolutely.
know that.
Yes.
Okay, that's so good. So, I ask these questions because I, again, think it's so important for everyone listening to remember every business owner, every entrepreneur has a unique story, and that's so deeply connected to the why behind what you do. And
Yeah.
so I think that's so important. But of course, as you've talked about, like your business has evolved. So it did start with you learning those things and helping other horse owners. And then over time, it has evolved to where people were asking you, how can you do what you do? Will you teach me? Right. And then you eventually even created a certification program.
Yes.
Okay. And then started to do some of the online components. And that's kind of where our roads intersected, I think, when you got to that point. So, leading people into that, that's kind of what was happening in your business and what it looked like before you joined Take the Reins for one-on-one coaching. I would love to know, in your words, what felt hard or frustrating about growing your business at that time?
So, first of all, being a small business owner is just hard anyways, right? Because you're wearing all the
100%.
hats.
Yes.
But I will say for me, the most challenging part was really getting clarity around my messaging. Because I'm naturally a DIYer and that's how I got my business rolling was just all the free resources out there, which you have so many great free resources that have been helpful to me as well. But because what I do is so unique, it was very hard, even for me, to very succinctly communicate that. So that's really why I did reach out to you and decide to really get the support I needed and the expertise I needed was for that clarity so that I could communicate it better from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, that makes beautiful sense. And I feel like a few things I want to pull out there for those listening too, because I know that many people listening to this segment are going to be people who are like thinking of one on one coaching and considering what the coaching aspect could be. And I want people to know that Amy listened to the podcast and was taking action from things that you heard on the podcast before we
Yes.
ever even connected. And then I think it was a clarity coaching call first,
Mhm.
right? And then it was still even more time in between. So, again, it's important for, I think, people to see like the full journey. It can be unique for each person. It's not always going to look like that, but also to give people permission. I always think it's so important to give people permission to say, take your time and do what you know is right for you and keep doing the work. Like you have the podcast, you have the free resources. If you're considering investing in coaching, are you taking action with the free things? Because then you're more likely to take action and get what you need out of the coaching experience.
Yes, absolutely. It's really I feel like where somebody is on their journey with their business, if they're ready to really invest and go to the next level, then like you said, it does you can give yourself permission to invest in that and know that that investment that you're going to make financially and time-wise is going to come back tenfold because of the support that you're going to get from the program.
Yeah, 100%. And so, of course, for you, it was unique also because you were in that process of launching your online academy and creating a free workshop and doing all of those things. So, the clarity piece was there. And then also, it was like, okay, what are the steps to actually launching a program? What does it look like to communicate that? But, like you said, if you didn't have clarity on how do I communicate the heart of what I do and connect it to what I'm trying to sell. And that's
Yes.
something I know a lot of people struggle with too.
Yes, and I think for me, I think it's from my engineering brain, like, I knew what to do, like, the steps,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of
Mhm.
that was from what you provide for free, but it's how do you get the details and the specifics to reach your target audience and your ideal customer? That
Mhm.
is what I was missing.
Yeah. That's so good, and that definitely is some of the work we do, that I do with every client is really figuring out, okay, who are we really trying to reach? What does the real win look like here? And then how are we doing that? So now, given that you're on the other side at this point, so we'll continue hopefully to get to continue to work together. But as far as like your first session of Take the Reins, for you, what is different now and how you think or how you show up or how you run your business now that you've been through this?
So for me, it's really having that clarity of my mission and my vision about my business. And it's completely changed the marketing that I do, how I show up for my customers and my clients. And also, it's just helped shape my day to day because it's keeping me on the correct path of truly what my why is for my business. And it's even helping me make decisions on should I do this project, should I not? And
Mhm.
I have a tendency, I'm what you call multi-passionate entrepreneur. I think that might be from Marie Forleo. Um, but I get excited about so many different things that are holistic equine related.
Yes.
And I have a tendency of going wider instead of deeper. And the clarity that I gained from the Take the Reins has really helped me go deeper and focus on what my mission and vision is to truly grow my business so that my focus is the focus of my time and my energy and my finances is going to the correct things.
That's so good. And that's one of the reasons we start with that measure what matters piece, right? So that we have that clear filter of
Mhm.
what is success for you, because it's definitely different for every business owner. And you are one of many that are multi-passionate. And that's one of the reasons you go into entrepreneurship, right? You have an idea and then you go after it. And so that's a beautiful quality. And even yesterday in actually the hot seat for my business barn collective, we were talking about this as someone was exploring different ideas that had come up for them. And even for you, going wide versus deep, there's not a wrong, right? There's truly, I'm not the coach that's going to say, like, this is the only way to do it. I think it is important to evaluate what happens when you go wide and what
Mhm.
happens when you go deep, and then you can make a decision from that. So, does this get you closer to your version of success? Right. And so that's what
Yeah.
we talked about with her yesterday. It's not wrong to go after this new market. Just realize I probably told you this quote because it's one of my favorites: dilute your focus, dilute the results. It's from Rory Vaden. And it's true. If you are giving, 25% to 4 different projects or 100% to one project, you know what kind of results you can expect. And so as
Mhm.
long as you go in with eyes wide open, right, then you can make a clear decision and a decision that feels aligned for you. So I'm so thankful to hear that. And I love that it's helping you in your day to day. Even when we were talking this past weekend, right? You did a workshop
Mhm.
that was not specifically equine cranial sacral therapy. However, it's very aligned with the heart of your business, and you're able to connect that now that you're really clear on that, how those two things can connect together.
Yes, absolutely. And it takes pressure off because you're not like, should I do this? Well, I know very clearly what my mission and vision is. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I have a filter to go back to.
yes.
Yeah. So good. So, for those who are listening who are saying, okay, Amy, I've kind of felt that way. I've felt the tension. I have felt like I've rewritten my homepage 100 times. I've, rewritten my Instagram bio 10 times in the past week. What kinds of advice would you give to those who are listening?
I would say just do it. Don't delay. I actually wish that I had taken the Take the Reins coaching program sooner. Um, I would just encourage you to make the investment financially, time wise, because it will come back to reward your business in the long run. And it's going to make your life easier because it's already hard to be a small business owner. And when you gain the clarity and you have the support that you need, it's just going to make it easier and your business is going to be more successful. So just do it. Don't delay. You know, it's I know you saw a saddle pad you wanna buy that matches the bell boots that you just bought, but just make the investment in growing your business because it's really worth it.
That's so good. And I'll even say what you said before, which was like, take the plunge. You're like, I just want to tell people to take the plunge because I recognize that coaching is a unique thing because you're investing in yourself, right? There's a lot of personal fear that we face, right? Like you said, you can spend the money on your horse and feel really good about it. But when you start to spend the money on personally investing in yourself, like the ante just goes up a little higher. But the reward is there too, right? The risk is there because the reward is there. And so when you take that risk and bet on yourself, you show up differently. I mean, would you say for you, I guess, did you feel like, especially in that time, like once you started coaching, you started showing up differently in your business?
Absolutely. And it's provides some structure and accountability that you
Mhm.
don't have as a solar entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And you start to view it really as you should, like you're your own corporate identity, and you should have measurable goals, like we talked about, that measure what matters, and you should have um goals with timelines and actionable items to achieve them. And the Take the Reins program really gives you that framework to walk through all those steps. And it really just helps elevate your business to another level, but also provides the support you need too.
Yeah, I'm so glad. 100%. Yep. It is not DIY, right? That's why I call it done with you because yes, there is an element of you need to do the work, but I'm 100% like, okay, here's this template. Here's this thing. Like, let me be that support structure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
you
then
do
you
have
just,
to be Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go right ahead.
I mean, you do have to be, like you mentioned, like, you need to be committed and ready to do the work, because your success in the Take the Reins is gonna be directly linked to the commitment and the work that you're gonna put into it. So, it's not like you just give this blueprint. Every business is individual, and you have to invest the work to really make it happen, but I think that's where the real transformation occurs. So, they do have to be committed and ready to do it, but, if you are, it's gonna be incredible.
I could not have said that better myself. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's so well said. I appreciate that.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
Amy, you are such a gift to me, but also the equine community. So I want people to know where they can find you, especially because you're doing more online things where they can learn from you, but even just following you on social media, I know they're going to learn and be encouraged and blessed. So would you please tell my listeners where they can find you and connect with you and what you are doing?
Yeah, thank you so much, Denise. That is so sweet. So my website is horseandriderhealing.com. It's all spelled out. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and my handle is at Horse and Rider Healing. So I would love to connect with them. I have an email newsletter they can sign up for. And I just love getting like-minded, holistic, horse owners and equine professionals together, because it does truly take a team.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. I will link, of course, to you and all the things in the show notes. But thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing your experience honestly and openly. And I know this is going to bless those listening. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Denise, and thank you for being a blessing to all of us equine business owners out there.
My honor. Okay, I hope you loved getting to know Amy. I know that I sure have been so encouraged by her in so many ways. And I love that she showcases what is possible when you really lean into what you know in your heart is what you are supposed to be doing and serving in that way. And you can hear from her. She has a heart to really help her clients and their horses and to do it strategically and intentionally as she continues to grow. As her clinics have been filling up, she needed some other ways to help more people. And so I love the opportunity to get to help her to do that. So I definitely hope you guys will go find her online, follow her, encourage her. And then I want you now to meet Audrey. Her business, as I said, is different from Amy's. She lives in a different part of the country than Amy does. She's in a different discipline than Amy. But again, you will hear some common threads, and I think you'll be inspired as well. And you're also going to hear with Audrey what I hear every time, which is she has the gift of teaching. And so we have definitely been leaning into that as we market her business. And you'll hear some of that in our conversation as well. Now, before we dive in, I want to let you know that unfortunately, the very beginning of our conversation got clipped off in my recording. I do not know why. I'm super disappointed. Thankfully, it was just a little bit. So I will tell you just a bit about what you missed in her introduction, because it's going to kind of be an abrupt jump into her sharing how she started the business. But I do want to let you know the piece that you missed is that Audrey is a physical therapist by trade. She has over 14 years of experience working in acute care, home care, outpatient physical therapy. And for 6 years now, she has had her own private practice where she focuses on concussion management and vestibular rehabilitation, which, as you guys will hear, she does a wonderful job explaining what she does and what that looks like. So I won't even try to, but I want to tell you that she is specialized in the brain body connection, neurologic, clinical specialist, board certified, knows all of these things. Okay. So then she's also a horse person. Okay. So she's also a rider. She's an amateur dressage rider. And so as you will jump into this piece of the conversation, you're going to hear her share how she was realizing that what she does or did, because now she does both, but what she did as a physical therapist was so connected to the problems she was having in the saddle. And truly, her challenge was everyone telling her she could not develop feel unless she spent thousands of hours in the saddle. And she took a different approach and said, yes, time in the saddle matters, but I know how the brain works. And I think there are things I can teach myself outside of my time in the saddle that will help me. And that was her journey that began to develop what she does now with Anchored Sea. Okay. So now you're going to jump into Audrey sharing the rest of that story.
So, as a way of kind of describing how that business grew and at least started, um, especially with that connection, right? Feeling like I really understood where my patients were coming from, but more on the sports performance ends of things. I went, okay, I have to be able to figure this out. Like the things that I'm struggling with. I can't sit the trot, for example. I was finding the timing and the rhythm to be really challenging, or just figuring out how to find and sit the canter transition was really difficult. And in my mind, I'm a PT, but I'm also an educator. So I've been an adjunct professor across 3 separate colleges, teaching mainly in PT programs. I went, there's got to be a way for me to figure this out. I mean, I'm teaching my patients who may have had a stroke or a TBI or something else where their brain isn't functioning 100%. And I'm getting them back to doing things that they are regularly used to do. Either it's getting up and out of chairs or up and down stairs. And I got to be able to figure out how to put my intact brain into good use and figure this out. And so I started digging through some of the neuroscience literature and finding a lot of crossover between that and sports performance. And I went, I can't be the only person that hasn't been able to figure this out. So, that led me on a journey really on my own for probably the first 2 years before I thought of ever making a business out of it and trying to reach out to other people. So it was mainly just conversations with other boarders and other riders. And the more I realized I wasn't on my own with it, I went, okay, how do I start putting that skill set to good use where I can serve people? So really, I think the community I have connected with the most, not that it couldn't apply to other riders, has been mainly the dressage community, primarily adult amateurs, because I think we're the ones that have, limited time, right? Limited resources, maybe only access to one horse. We can't ride, 7 or 8 horses a day to try and figure this out. We've got to find ways to do it unmounted. And that's really become, unintentionally, but a huge piece of my business of really being able to show people that you can do this kind of work, develop feel, develop rhythm, develop timing, that there's good, strong neuroscientific principles behind all of that. And you can do it out of the tack, which then gives you far better resources, time, energy, effort to put into when you're in the saddle so you can maximize that time with your horse.
So good. So for those listening, now you know why I was like, oh, you need to meet Audrey, because it is a unique, frankly, it's a very unique perspective, but it's backed by, yes, science and your experience, right? And your clients' experiences. And so I would love to know, speaking of clients you get to work with, so what you do is then, of course, help them. It is not, right, not that there's anything wrong with strength programs, but for you, what's different is that it's not a strengthening program. It really is that brain-body connection. So tell me, Audrey, what is it that lights you up the most about what you get to do now in terms of helping riders with their rider balance?
So I think it's kind of the same thing as what I run into with my students when I teach, right? Like for me, being able to take the 16 years worth of skill work that I've had as a PT and put it into what I do with horses, which is really the passion for me. The biggest piece is seeing the light bulb moment when somebody feels like they can finally find for example, I had a couple of riders that I worked with in a clinic a few weeks ago, and one of them said, I always lose my left stirrup. I can't seem to really keep my left leg down. I feel like my left hip constantly hikes. And there's some simple things that you can do to work on that. And by the end, she was able to sit symmetrical in the saddle. And for her, it was a light bulb moment of, oh, I have to think about it this way. And if I use this technique combined with this kind of thought process, I'm going to be able to figure it out. And like she came to that conclusion on her own, right? It was really me giving some guidance in terms of resources and tools, but watching her feel that for the first time and get that moment where it's like, oh, I've been struggling with this for so long. And here's a tool and a technique that can really help me. And it's oftentimes very simple, which makes it seem like it shouldn't create such a difference. But think about training horses, right? Oftentimes it's the simple things that really make a huge difference. So I think that piece, being able to combine that background and knowledge and then watching what happens with riders when they feel it for the first time, they go, oh my God, I get it. I get it now.
Mm.
It's been something I haven't been able to feel for so long. That's the same thing that happens with my students when they finally put all those puzzle pieces together. And I go, yes, right? Because I've struggled with that. I want to see you get that so you don't have to go through the years of confusion that I did.
Mhm. Yeah, right?
Let's short track it for you. Let's totally short track it. And to your point of mentioning about the strengthening programs, that's really where I feel like a lot of our fitness and like performance pieces for equestrians kind of fall. And I don't mean to pick on them in this way because it's not that flexibility and strength isn't important. It totally is. That preserves and gives you capacity and stamina and the ability to perform. But I really feel like it stops short if you don't go anywhere past that. Even if you look at just general strength and conditioning programs across other sports and other disciplines. So take, soccer or football or going to gymnastics. They never stop at just stretching and then working on like yoga or planks. They're always pushing the envelope in terms of like agility or plyometrics or balance. And we need to be thinking about that as equestrians in the same way, and I don't think we do, right? That's a huge piece that leads to feel and symmetry and balance, and we are uniquely so. Well, one of the few sports that has to be so concerned with symmetry, right? Every other sport, when you think about baseball, soccer is a good one. No, it's not a perfect example. Lacrosse, ice hockey, there's one side that's dominant, right? So like pitchers, it's one hand that they pitch with. They're not often ambidextrous, right? So they will have asymmetries from side to side, but that's key to how they perform in their sport. For us, if we can turn beautifully to the right and we can't turn to the left, well, then there goes our left lead canter transition, right? Or our ability to even just be able to do a 20-meter circle beautifully. So we have an extra added kind of element where we have to be super concerned about how balanced and symmetrical we are. That takes a lot more work than just doing the strengthening piece.
That's here's what I love because it's so, so good because my question was what lights you up and like you can see and feel that like that excitement and getting people that transformation and helping them to bring those pieces together for that end goal 100% lights you up. So I love that so much. And I, of course, at the end will invite everyone to go find out more about what you're doing. But for the purposes now, I want to move into talking about, so you started the business, you said you took a couple of years to really understand just from a practical perspective. So when you started to actually, I don't know if that I've asked you this question, Audrey, when you started to get into that and understand, okay, so actually I believe I can learn feel even if I'm not in the saddle 1,000 hours. Did you have in your mind that that would become part of your business or become a new business at some point? Or were you genuinely just doing that at the time to learn and then eventually realized, okay, this actually could be something I can help other riders with and it can become a business?
Yeah, it started more out as the latter element where I was like, I have to be able to figure this out, right? Like the sitting trot, I shouldn't just be forever wondering how to do it. There's got to be a mechanism or a way to teach my brain or teach my body. So part of the rabbit hole I fell into was trying to find other training programs. So being the educator side of me, I'm also the perpetual learner where I will go in and research something, but similar to our other questions, it's not often the Cliff Notes version, right? I usually apologize to my patients and rider clients because I'm like, sorry, there's not going to be a short version to this. You're gonna get a little more of the background details because ultimately, like, when we tie all of it together, it'll make a lot more sense than if I just give you the surface overview. So, I approached this problem in the same way. I was like, "Why can't I figure out the timing and rhythm? What am I missing?" Because I don't wanna make my horse just do endless circles. At the time, the mare that I had endless endurance. So my first mare was a big thoroughbred mare and she could go for hours, but I was like, this isn't fair to her. I have to be able to figure this out and then be able to take this back to her when I ride and do 5 circles of figuring it out, not 15 to 25. So
Yeah.
part of that rabbit hole was going into, and I ended up falling into Franklin method. And so Eric Franklin he primarily worked with dancers, as I understand it, initially, but he talks about a lot with embodiment and visual imagery and biomechanics and anatomy and physiology. And he's got a wonderful background in all of that. And there's actually quite a crossover that he has with the PT community that I hadn't realized. And then he had at the time a specific set of training courses like tailored to equestrians. And I went, oh. And so it originally started as kind of just enrichment. I wanted to learn and see what I wasn't figuring out. And then from there, within that coursework, you have to take it alongside of other trainers, right? Hearing their stories and their experiences, both from their personal riding and then what they were working on with their clients, I went, oh, because I think sometimes we feel a little alone, like we're the only person that doesn't get it, right? Like the trainer says, add more leg or, follow along and follow with your seat. And you go, I'm trying. And then you go, well, everybody else seems to be getting it. It must just be me. So I think through that coursework of seeing what the other clients were going through, I went, okay, I'll be a little more open and vulnerable and start asking some of the other boarders and riders, like, does that make sense to you? Or am I the only one that doesn't get it? And I was often finding, yes, I wasn't the only one. That's when I had that light bulb moment of, okay, I have an education background. I think I can help other people get to this answer faster than having to go through the hours and hours of research and certifications and coursework that I did, so that they can have that light bulb moment faster and easier, right? Then they get more out of their lessons, more out of the time with their horses. So yeah, it really did just start as four rounds of coursework. So literally 2 years of just figuring it out for
Diving
myself.
in.
Yeah, it was a big investment, but that's kind of how I do things. That's not an unusual process for me, but when I thought there was a way to share it, I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of a neat blend of talents to bring to folks. So when I work with riders, it can either be, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but either one-on-one, so working with training clients one-on-one, or doing bigger, broader clinics and being able to teach to groups and take a lot of that Franklin method equestrian, combine it with what I know from that neuro PT perspective, and then, like I said, watch the light bulb moments happen because that always makes my day.
It's so good. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't really, asked in that way about the start of your business. I understand the personal experience. So when you and I connected, you had been listening to the podcast for a while, I believe, and so you were in this transition time of, okay, I'm going to dive in. We're going to do it for real, and I want to have a really strong foundation. That's what I remember from our conversation. So you were in the very early stages. For some listening, they are there. For some, they've been doing it for a while, and they've just been feeling frustrated about marketing as a whole. But for you, before you jumped in and joined Take the Reins for one-on-one coaching, I am so curious for you what felt really hard or frustrating, or maybe felt overwhelming because you were diving into it for the first time in some ways when it came to growing the business aspect.
Yeah, the business aspect is always a tough element, right? All of those pieces, wearing multiple hats, especially when you do a lot of it on your own, is like that solopreneur, I think is the term that they use,
Yeah.
right? You're out doing something entrepreneurial, but it's
Yeah.
hard in today's day and age with how much technology advances. So now, I mean, what used to be taking an ad out in the newspaper to get information out is no longer effective. You have to think across multiple platforms, think about websites, think about SEO optimization. And when I first started, even with my PT clinic, I went, this is a lot for me to think about, right? But in healthcare community, it's a lot easier because your connections are usually with other providers and then word of mouth with your patients. So there's a more easier way to connect all the dots in a local fashion, if that makes sense. But when you're going out and doing a business outside of that realm, which was the only thing I knew, right? So I only knew the healthcare model. But when I got outside into that wellness realm, I went, I feel like I should be able to take a lot of this knowledge and translate it, but then I lacked clarity on where to go with any of it. So I went, I don't know how to make a website that really gets to the consumer and explains to them, because I feel like there's a lot of interesting elements about what I'm trying to offer that I think would be intriguing for people to read about. But again, knowing I'm not the Cliff Notes version of it, I went, how do I make this clear, concise, in a way that's getting at the pieces that I need to reach the audience that I would really like to work with? And so essentially what brought me your way, because I met you at Equine Affair, and I was like,
Mhm.
thank
Yeah.
goodness your demo or your presentation was literally 2 rows away from where I was. So it was just a matter of figuring out, keeping an eye on my watch and setting a timer. And I couldn't wait to sit down and listen, because I went, here's someone I think I can work with that will really help me figure out how to start channeling some of my energy. Because again, since it took me 2 years of just building the base on knowledge, if I wanted to learn SEO optimization, I would, if I was doing it on my own, I'd probably still be researching that stuff now and still not satisfied with the level of knowledge that I had. And I went, I don't know where to put my energy, so I'm not just spinning my wheels and like creating a rut. So before I really went in knee deep, I went, I need somebody that understands these pieces that can help me so that I'm at least directed, targeted, focused, clear. So that to me was a perfect partnership. I was so thankful to meet you and actually be able to meet you in person. I feel like not everybody gets that fortunate opportunity, but I was lucky. So you kind of got to see me in my element, but I also got to meet you and really talk to you face to face. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, and I even got to get on your Equisizer and do like a little mini session and get a feel for what you do. So it was, yeah, so good. And I could see from the beginning, I was like, you have something unique here and you have these giftings. Like you said, we need to channel the energy and really figure out what the focus is to get you on the right path to where you want to be. And so starting in that. So I love that. I'm so very grateful. So given that you've been through Take the Reins, the official quote unquote program through the Saddle Up and Go framework, we've done websites, we've done social media. You also launched a podcast during our time together, which not everybody does. So that's a whole unique, separate thing that was really exciting. And so we'll, of course, link to that in the show notes as well. For you now that you've been through the program, we're continuing to work together on a supportive coaching capacity. But for you now and how you approach your work, how you approach growing Anchored Seat, what do you feel like is different in how you show up or how you think or maybe how you run the business?
So I feel like I'm much more conscientious, in terms of the time that I dedicate to certain things. Cause like I said, I'm the person that could completely go down rabbit holes and get lost researching things. One, because I enjoy learning. And then secondly, because I want to try and prepare myself as best as I can. And so I've been, so thankful with your help, which is why I think the continued support in my realm is so important, to help me make sure that I'm always directing my efforts in a way that's going to help me continue to grow and reach other, the rest of the audience that I would like to try and reach out to. So as opposed to previously where I felt like it was a lot of confusing elements that were just like balls being tossed in the air. I have to get a website. I have to think about social media. I've got to think about clinics. I've got to think about programming. I've got to think about marketing. I've got to think about branding and colors and logos. And it was like, overwhelming, right? There was too much there. Now I have a structure in place and I have time set up and I've dedicated time during the week. And I know basically I have a good punch list. You and I are very good about, you're very helpful with helping me create like a punch list so that I know exactly what to dedicate to. So there are some things I allow myself a little bit of time to go down the rabbit hole and research. And then there are other elements now where because of that framework that I have, I know to pull back and go, we're not going to put too much time and energy into that at the moment. It's not going to help me as much as working on this element will. So it's given me a way to kind of prioritize and keep myself on track, which with the podcast mainly is why I've been successful at keeping it going, because I've had that framework set up. And because you helped me with it, I had that from the get-go of, okay, this is how much time I'm going to dedicate each week. This is how I'm going to approach it. These are the tools I'm going to use to help me make sure that I'm successful on it. So I feel like it's given me good structure and I work well within a structured environment. That's been my entire career, right? So that's been very helpful as opposed to trying to figure out what that pathway looked like when really from all the training that I've ever taken from, either as a PT or even in these coaching elements through Franklin Method, not a ton of it is dedicated to that background administrative side of like setting up the website or even the marketing aspect. So I had all the knowledge. It was just trying to figure out how to push it out there. So
Mhm.
getting that framework set up for me was super helpful so that I knew where to put all that effort.
So good. I'm so glad. And two, like I'm putting a bonus question slash part beyond there, Audrey, because I also want people to be able to hear and celebrate with you some of the wins that you've gotten to see because of that, because you were able to invest in yourself and use a support structure and go through your checklist and actually do the work because it is a done with you type program. The fun thing is, a year after we met, you were presenting at Equine Affair, right? So that is so fun that you were a presenter. You have your own podcast. You are booking clinics actively. You are working with writing and training clients one on one. And so you're getting to see the fruit of that labor and that solid foundation that you put in place. So I'm just so excited and pumped for that for you too.
Yeah, thank you. That's been the rewarding piece is seeing all of that. Because in the beginning, especially with like the first couple episodes of the podcast or when I was first diving into the website, I'm like, this is a lot of like background work to do, which I knew was going to be there. It was just a matter of like actually seeing all the parts and pieces. And now that there's some traction, right? And we're going places and I'm getting to go out and travel to clinics or I'm having training clients come to me, that is super fun to see all of that work in the background, the years of rabbit hole diving I did first, and then actually starting to put some of those elements into practice and seeing just how excited some of the clients are. Like I said, those light bulb moments of when they figure something out and they go, that's all I have to do, and then I can figure this piece out, or it's not really that my hip flexors were tight, it's actually this element I need to train, and it's like, "Yes, yes, that's the piece, that's the whole reason." That element makes the job worth it. It's like, I find this in the PT community too, they talk a lot with, I'm in several Facebook groups for people that own their own practices, and it's tough, right? Like, I'm sure you understand, it's hard running a business, especially since you wear so many hats, and what every piece of advice I ever come back to is that you have to know what your why is, like why you do this. And my whole goal has already always been harmony for the horse and rider, right? Like I looked at it from the element of just what can I do to be better rider for my mare, the mare that I had at the time. And being able to do that for other riders, that's when that light bulb moment means something. So I go, that's what I was looking for those years ago. And when I can watch somebody else get there and know that I got to play a small role in that, like, that's the reward.
Oh, that's so good. I love that because we start with that, right? And take the reins. Like, okay, what is success and what's the heart behind what you're doing? So I love that you landed the plane there. Okay,
Yeah.
so for those listening who maybe have been feeling the way that you felt, right? I have all of this energy. I have all of these ideas. I have something I know I want to do. I just am not sure on like the process, the structure, where to go, where to take a left turn or a right turn. What would you tell those that are listening? What advice would you give them?
This question, I'm thinking about it and I was like, what would be a helpful thing to say? I guess the biggest piece is to try and not go on it alone. There's so much I think about entrepreneurship, especially when you own your own business and it's just you, which a lot of us, I still think in the horse industry, it is a lot of times just one person doing a lot of stuff on their own. It doesn't mean that you can't ask for help on those things, and you're often stronger together, right? So the rising waters benefits all ships here, and when I realized I didn't have to figure out all those pieces myself, because I feel like sometimes when you ask for advice, folks are like, "Oh, there's a lot on YouTube," or, "You can read these things on blogs," and it's like, "Yeah, sure," and now that I've said this a couple times, right? We know that that would totally appeal to me to do those rabbit hole dives and just read everything, and I went, no, I don't have to try and wear every single hat by myself, that I can have somebody partnering with me and helping me, and that's actually gonna help me serve the community better when I have someone else to bounce ideas off of. So I would say the biggest thing is don't try and go all of it alone. If there really are questions that you have, that's the whole point of having those partnerships, those mentorships, like the coaching that you do, right? I'm sure those are the rewarding moments for you when you see your clients, like you were saying, I'm getting to book clinics, I'm getting to work with other riders. Um, it was all because I had you there to help support me along the way, and it wasn't just me trying to dive down to every single YouTube video and try and make sense of it and then apply it to my scenario, or read every single blog site and go, "I must be able to just find this information," and then maybe get the wrong advice out of it, right? Because it could be that I'm picking a logo that's not meaningful at all or too complicated or colors that are hard to read on a website. And like those sound like little elements, but they make a big deal. Like they make a big difference. So having someone that can work alongside you and really support you, it makes a huge difference along the way.
That's so good. Yeah, don't go it alone. I am a huge supporter of that, especially for entrepreneurs. Like you said, it can feel lonely. And yes, you can have the resources at your fingertips, but I literally just talked about this on my podcast where there are lots of options to get leads. But if you try to do all of them at the same time, you're going to burn out, be exhausted, and wonder what's not working. And you're going to sit there going, but I did what they told me to do. Because there are so many different ways to do it. There's not just one right way. That's the reality. There's so many other factors to look at, including your time, energy, and capacity, including your personal version of success. So I'm so grateful that you shared that. And I hope people will take it to heart and get the support they need, whether it's coaching or whatever else support they're looking for in the moment. Like it's so very important to get what you need in the season that you are in. I love it so much, Audrey. I've been cheering for you, clapping for you, praying for you. I'm just honored to get to join you on this journey. So tell everyone who is listening where they can find you, how they can connect to you, what your podcast is. And then, of course, I will link to all of those things in the show notes too.
Yes. So the podcast is super fun. The podcast itself is called Main Brain. So MANE, like a horse's mane. But Main Brain is where that's the opportunity when I was saying if I dedicate time during the week to go down the rabbit hole, that's the neuroscience rabbit hole. So I have addressed topics, everything from breathing in the tack to, we were talking about some of the titles the other day, but like rider reflexes and the sticky seat, right? So the neuroscience behind really being able to have good balance and good reaction timing in the saddle to even this past couple months, I've talked about cardiovascular training. So there's a lot in there that I think is kind of intriguing in terms of unmounted training, but Main Brain is the podcast. And then to learn about working with me either one-on-one or to bring me to your barn to do a clinic, you can find all that information at anchoredseat.com. And for those listening, if it's something where you just kind of want to see what that training looks like, I also have a free breathing guide on there that you can download that goes through a lot of what Franklin Method elements look like. So, what my training style is like. And there's a link for that right on anchoredseat.com where you can download the breathing guide.
Beautiful. Awesome. We will link to all the things. Thank you so much, Audrey. I really appreciate you sharing your experience with everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. Like I said, I'm grateful to have had you along the journey with me, and I'm so happy to share that with everybody and tell them how successful it's been. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Audrey. And again, please go find her online, support her, and encourage her, and you will learn a ton from her as well. Now, as I said in the beginning, Amy and Audrey have very different businesses, different personalities, different services, different audiences, but they are both so passionate about serving their niche in the equine industry. And I love getting to support them in that. And they also knew they were looking for help beyond just a checklist and beyond a course because one-on-one coaching is not a pre-recorded course. It is literally time spent with me. And then I do provide the resources and the tools and the templates and checklists absolutely that are needed to do these things successfully. So they needed that clear messaging and branding to act as a filter for all their other decisions. They needed a plan that fit their unique business, and they needed someone in their corner who understood marketing and the equine industry. And that's why I love so much when I get clients like them inside of Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching container. It is a 6-month coaching program. You can find the details about it. So I'm not going to like list everything for you here because you heard us talking about it, but you can go to Storm Lily, which is Storm LILY.com/reins anytime and get that information and the details and apply. Because I will tell you this, Take the Reins is not a course. It is not a checklist. I do bring to you my Saddle Up and Go framework that guides our time together so that we can build a marketing strategy that fits your business, your goals, and your personal definition of success so we can help you to grow sustainably without burning out. Because, friends, I know this to be true. The results that you want, the business that you're after, is not going to happen by accident, and it's not going to happen when you build it in a silo. You need that support that understands you and your business and your audience. You need clarity that tells you what your next step is, and you need a process that you can follow. And that's what I want to help you do inside of Take the Reins. So if you are ready to stop the scrambling behind the scenes and start truly cracking the code on how to get clear messaging, how to weave together your social media, your website, your email marketing, your in-person marketing, all those different marketing methods and tactics, how to make it a comprehensive strategy so you can grow sustainably, I would love to talk with you. The first step, again, is just to go to stormlily.com/reins. There you'll find all the information as well as a link to apply. Now, the reason it's an application process is because this is not just a course that you buy and is self-paced and do it on your own. This is you and I working together. And so we're going to jump on a Zoom call together first. I want to meet you and I want you to meet me so I can learn about your business and your goals, and we can determine if Take the Reins is the best right fit for you and take those next steps to get started. So your first step is just to go and apply at stormlily.com/reins. You'll find the application there. You can head to the show notes of this episode and you can get there as well. I would be honored to help you guys. You have already built an equine business around what lights you up, and I love that. And so now I would love to help you build the strategy and the systems and give you the support that will allow you to grow it without burning out and in a way that meets your definition of success. So again, head to stormlily.com/reins if you're ready to take that next step. Go ahead and apply, and let's get on a Zoom call together and get to know one another. I promise you this, okay? If you're listening to that and you're like, oh no, she said Zoom call, she means she's just going to try to sell me. I can actually guarantee you that every single call that I have gotten on, the free fit calls that I do, the application calls for Take the Reins, my clients or potential clients always walk away with something they can take and apply, even if it's a free fit call, because I am so here to help you and serve you. So it truly is a time for us to get to know one another and for me to answer any questions that you may have about the program. So jump over there, check it out. I'd love to meet you, and stay tuned here on the podcast because next week I have another new guest coming in and I can't wait for you to meet her, hear her story and lessons learned about her entrepreneurial journey. And of course, every week I'm bringing a new episode. So make sure you are subscribed and you're sharing it with a friend. The more equine business owners that have access to this podcast, the more we can see the equine industry continue to grow. So share this with a friend. Have an amazing day. I'll see you back here next time. Bye, guys.